Hi everyone, and welcome to Lipstick on a Rig. Today we're going to be making this 14-inch throw pillow using scrap yarn. And for our project, go ahead and grab as much scrap yarn as you have lying around. And you're going to need quite a bit of it. But you're at least going to need 3 strands. And we'll also be using a size N or 15 or 10 millimeter crochet hook. And go ahead and grab your 3 strands of yarn, and we are going to work these 3 strands simultaneously like they are one. So we're going to begin by attaching the yarn to our crochet hook using a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 27. And once you have your 27 chains, then working in the back loop only of each stitch in your row, you're going to place a single crochet. So we're going to skip our turning chain, and we're going to go ahead and place 1 single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch in our row. And when we get to the end of our row, we should have a total of 26 single crochets. And when you get to the end of your row, turn your work toward your tail here like this so that you can access these front loops. And we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of our front loops, just like this. And I am going to work over my tail by just draping it over my crochet hook like this, and then finishing out my stitch. So go ahead and place 1 single crochet in each of your front loops going all the way down your row. And when you get done, you should have a total of 52 single crochets in the round. And at the end of your row, your pattern should look like this. And from here, we are going to slip stitch into the top of our first single crochet stitch and then chain 2. And for this row, we're going to place 1 double crochet in the back loop only of each stitch in our row. And that does include this first stitch where we placed our slip stitch. So go ahead and place 1 double crochet in the back loop only of each stitch in your row. And when you get done, you should have a total of 52 double crochet stitches. And at the end of your row, you're going to skip your slip stitch and your chain 2, and you're going to slip stitch into the top of your first double crochet stitch. And then you're just going to sort of fold this out so that you can see these front loops here. And for our next row, we're going to be working in these front loops as well as the top portion of our stitch. So to locate your very first front loop, it's just going to be the front loop below your slip stitch. So right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to skip our next front loop. And in this next front loop, we're going to place a triple crochet. So to do that, you're going to yarn over twice and insert your crochet hook in that loop. And if it's a little tight, it'll loosen up. Then yarn over and pull up through the loop. Then yarn over and drop 2 loops at a time until you finish out your stitch. And then back up in the top portion of your stitch, you're going to place 1 single crochet in your next 3 stitches. And from here, we're going to begin the repeatable part of our pattern. So we're going to begin by yarning over twice, and then we're going to insert our crochet hook back in the same loop where we just worked. And then we're going to yarn over and pull up through the loop. And then we're going to yarn over and drop 2 loops at a time until we have 2 loops remaining on our crochet hook. And once you have 2 loops on your crochet hook, then you're going to yarn over and skip 3 of your front loops. And in that 4th front loop, you're going to insert your crochet hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull up through the loop, yarn over and drop 2 loops, and then yarn over and drop your remaining 3 loops. And then working back up in the top portion, you're going to place 1 single crochet in these next 3 stitches. And you will be skipping a stitch or 2, sometimes 2, right here from your last single crochet stitch, and that's okay. Your goal here is just to sort of frame your front loop with 3 single crochets. So it definitely does not have to be perfect. And that is it. You're just going to repeat this pattern starting back in the same loop that you just worked in. So go ahead and repeat that going all the way around your row. And to join our last stitch, we're going to yarn over twice and then insert our crochet hook back in that same loop where we already worked. Yarn over and pull up through the loop, and then yarn over and drop 2 loops at a time until we have 2 loops on our crochet hook. And from here, we're going to yarn over and then insert our crochet hook up underneath the stem that forms our first triple crochet. Then we're going to yarn over and pull up through the stem and drop all the loops on our crochet hook. Just like that. And now your pattern should look something like this. And next, we're just going to slip stitch into the top of our triple crochet. And then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to place 1 double crochet in each stitch in our row. And that does include this first stitch right here where we placed our slip stitch. So go ahead and place 1 double crochet in each stitch in your row. And at the end of your row, you're going to skip your slip stitch and your chain 2, and then you're going to slip stitch into the top of your first double crochet stitch. And for our next row, we're going to be working in the stems that form our peaks here. We're going to begin by yarning over twice and then inserting our crochet hook up underneath these 2 stems that form the peak directly below our crochet hook. Yarn over and pull up through the stems, and then yarn over and drop 2 loops at a time until you have 2 loops on your crochet hook. Then working up underneath our next peak, the 2 stems that form that, you're going to yarn over and then insert your crochet hook there. Then yarn over and pull up through your stems and yarn over and drop 2 loops, and then yarn over and drop 3 loops. And just like we did in the previous crisscross row, we're going to try to frame our peak with 1 single crochet in the 3 stitches above it. And now I'm going to show you the repeatable part of our pattern. So we're going to begin by yarning over twice, and then we're going to insert our crochet hook back up underneath the same peak where we just worked. Then we're going to yarn over and pull up through the peak, and then yarn over and drop 2 loops at a time until we have 2 loops on our crochet hook. And from here, we're going to yarn over and then insert our crochet hook up underneath these 2 stems that form our next peak. Yarn over and pull up through the stems, yarn over and drop 2 loops, and then yarn over and drop 3 loops. And we're going to frame our peak with 1 single crochet in those top 3 stitches directly above it. And we're just going to repeat that pattern going all the way around our row. And the last stitches of our row are going to join the last peak with the first peak. So we're going to do that by yarning over twice and inserting our crochet hook in that last peak. And we should have already worked in it. Then we're going to yarn over and pull up through the peak, yarn over and drop 2 loops at a time until we have 2 loops on our crochet hook. And then we're going to yarn over and insert our crochet hook up underneath the stems from our first peak. Yarn over and pull up through that peak, yarn over and drop 2 loops, and then yarn over and drop 3 loops. And then we're just going to place 1 single crochet in our last 3 stitches of this row. And next we are going to slip stitch into our next stitch, and then we're just going to repeat those last 2 rows over and over to build the body of our throw pillow. So we're going to chain 2 and place 1 double crochet in each stitch in our row. Then we're going to work in our peaks like we just did. And we're just going to keep alternating between those 2 rows until we have the body of our throw pillow. And I'm going to show you how to add in another strand of yarn as needed. So as you run out of 1 strand of yarn, all you're going to do is set that to the side. Then you're going to grab your new strand of yarn and you're just going to start working with it. And I do find it helpful to hold on to the tails while I place my first stitch. So all you're going to do is just begin placing your next stitch with your new strand of yarn. And then you're just going to continue to crochet with your new strand like that. And I usually tie my 2 tails together and crochet over them in my next row. And I followed that pattern until I had a total of 10 intersections. And once you have your 10 intersections, then go ahead and lay your throw pillow cover down flat. And we're going to place 1 slip stitch in each of the stitches that lead us to our first edge here. So for me, that's about 4 stitches. And once you get down to one of your edges, then you're going to chain 2. And all we're going to do is place 1 double crochet in our next 26 stitches. And that does include that same stitch where you placed your slip stitch. And once you have your 26 double crochet stitches, then you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. And from here, we're just going to place 1 double crochet in each stitch in our row. And at the end of our row, we're just going to chain 2 and turn our work. And from here, we're just going to repeat that last row to build the body of our flap. And I repeated that last row until I had a total of 9 rows in my flap. And so at the end of your 9th row, we're just going to cut and tie off our yarn. And I like to weave my tail in the opposite direction that I was crocheting. And after stuffing it with your pillow, it should look something like this. Please let me know in the comments below if you experienced any issues while you were making this, and I will do my best to help you out. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Lipstick on a Rig. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.